Okay, my friends, this is going to be a stunner. We're going to be talking about footprints in ancient clay and where they were found, what they looked like, and so forth. Now, I'm going to be referring to Mary Leakey, who was the top of the top. And she found these footprints in it was in Africa. I think it was Nairobi. I'm not certain of that, but she found these footprints and a track of footprints, and they examined them. And when I looked into what she had found footprints that had no toes. I call them no-toes. And here is a footprint right here, a human footprint, more or less, with no toes. This is a complete foot. A complete foot with no toes. The toes are built in. This is not a shoe. This is an actual foot, and it has the tibia, the fibula, it has the little extra hooks. I'm going to show this all in a microscope shortly. You're going to see the texture of the coating, which is actually the hide. You'll see where the fibula, the fibula sat on the side. That, my friends, is a more or less human footprint with no toes. That's where the tibia sits, and there's two little hooks that come around the edge to hold it so that it doesn't go that way. And they are there as well. Everything is here except the toes. So I named them no-toes. And I also found one in this layer of rock. There is no toes here. It pushed itself down through this red bed. And I'm going to show this again. I have to put some water on it to highlight the colors, because this is the red bed, there was a gray clay, and then there was a black cap. And I have all that stuff right here, so I need it peer reviewed. Okay, this is the footprints that Mary Leakey found, and it was in Tanzania actually, and they had no toes.
Here, for the first time, we could see the actual footprints showing the manner in which they walked upright.
There's no toes in these, and they found no toes. And I also have, like I said, stuff with no toes. I have actual foot that is a no toe, and this is something that changes the whole timeline of history, is the red bed, the gray clay, and the black cap. I'll explain that in a moment. You see this? They're talking about oval depressions. An oval, everyone knows what an oval looks like. And there was thousands of them in this area. Now they thought they were dinosaurs made them, but there was no toes. Which, I don't know, there was no toes. Let's just go with that. And they were oval shaped. All right, and at the site, thousands of these oval depressions, currently identified as prints, dot the sandstone landscape. Ripples in the rocks and fossil crustacean burrows suggest the site was a lagoon more than 65 million years ago. The ripples were from where the water had pulsated back and forth as things dried out, and then they ran across it. Same thing that happened with this one I have here. On average, the oval was at 43 centimeters by 34 centimeters, about one of them every square meter over a broad area. Their footprints, here's what happens though. They said the scientists interpreted the pits as fossil footprints because of the area's abundance of dinosaur remains. Upon close inspection, none of the supposed tracks includes the hallmarks of a large animal's footprint. It wasn't large, they were small. They were like human size. Martinelli notes, there are no traces of toes. There were no toes. The pits have a U-shaped cross-section, not flat bottom expected from a big flat dinosaur. The sediments below the depressions haven't been deformed. They just sort of hit the bottom, which is the substrate, it would be expected if a heavy dinosaur had stepped in the soft mud. Furthermore, the pits don't form clear trackways, which humans walk around in circles a lot, I have found, nor do many overlap, a situation unlikely if numerous dinosaurs. In other words, they're saying everything they thought does not really stack up. Their conclusion is that these oval footprints were the results of feeding behavior of stingrays. Okay, their explanation at the end is that this was from the feeding behavior of stingrays, that they weren't really footprints. I say they're footprints and they had no toes. That's no footprint, it's got no toes. Well, I got no toes too, and I got them actually in abundance. Okay, it turns out there's a lot of ancient footprints suggest humans may have worn something because they're, unlike barefoot human tracks, they show no toes, yet they display the same rounded features. Earth-shattering discovery of ancient footprints, they have not paid attention to what is in front of their eyes. And it's very simple. I have it right here, and I need it to be peer-reviewed. Okay, we're going to get real technical in a moment, but here's what they say. Somehow, most of the life on Earth perished in a moment of geological time. Roughly, they say 250 million years ago. I totally dispute that. Now, the scientists call it the Permian Triassic. The Triassic is what we're going to be talking about. Extinction is when the Triassic happened. It was the Great Dying. All right, so this was when this happened at the Triassic, which is the red bed, the gray clay, and the black cap. That is the Triassic. Great Dying. I say it was the Great Flood. Okay, this is very simple. I am in the Connecticut Valley Rift Basin. That's exactly where I am, and it's known for the Triassic rock, which is the basin with a lower red bed, gray clay, and black cap. That's what I'm about to show you. All right, you have seen that I am in the red bed, gray clay, and black cap area. This is what happened. This is how this formation occurred. It all happened at the same time. This is the Earth, the substrate of the Earth. So the Earth is here. We get impacted by Venus. The entire Earth swirls and swishes, and all the siliceous ooze from the bottom of the ocean, which is way down there because it weighs 2.5 times as much as water. So all that comes to the surface, silicates. And it forms, it boils, literally boiled the oceans. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be hard to take. But what we're looking at now is going to be this red bed, but pushed through that red bed is the gray clay, the footprint. And then above, filled in with the black cap. All right, hold on a second. All right, the Triassic happened in a brief moment. We almost got hit by Venus, overwhelmed the whole world with water, and silicates came up from the ocean floor. And at the same time, it created the red bed because it boiled the oceans. Now they agree the oceans boiled. When they boil, you boil flesh, you end up with a red bed from literally the mud and the clay of the bodies of the creatures that boiled. Then there's a gray clay over the top of that, and that depends on what kind of plant life and so forth. Mostly this and bones sort of material. This was actually the blood. This is the bloody flesh. Red clay areas are bloody flesh. Above that was the gray clay. Now, this guy stepped on the gray clay, pushed it down through, right down into the red bed. You see that? There's the red bed. and it pushed that footprint right down in through it. So the only possibility is that this was wet. Whoops. Yeah, you can see that. This was wet, had to be wet, for this to push down through it, because that was up here gray. So we end up with this footprint and then the black on top, and I have all of those pieces right here. I have the red bed, as you've just seen. The gray clay is the actual footprint, and you can see the gray if you look carefully right there, but you'll see it on the bottom. It's just as gray as gray gets. So that all that pushed down through the red bed. That gray clay should be on top of the red bed, and it's not. It had to happen instantly. And then this is almost undisturbed. So the black stuff must have landed right on there very, very quickly. The great dying was the great flood, in my opinion. But I think I'm showing evidence to support my side of it. All right, let's get started. I showed you this piece is the red bed, and it's red. It is very red, and it is just nothing more than mud. There's no anything other than mud here, and that's because it boiled off of the first creatures. So that's where the red bed is. That's this. Above that should have been a gray clay, all the settling of things that are, the red bed just settled to the bottom. Blood is heavier than water. All right, so the blood came down because that boils out first, and it is heavier than water, and it settled on top of the earth, the substrate, which made the red bed. This is worldwide. This is not just one place or another. This is a worldwide event. Red bed, gray or green clays, black cap, everywhere in the world. It's called the Triassic event. Tri means the three. So here we got the red bed. Then this was gray clay. You see that? That's gray clay. And now that gray clay is down below the red bed. It's down at the bottom of the red bed, pushing up probably against the substrate. Because there's the red bed, and the gray clay was above it. I'm sorry, this gets confusing. You see what you see. You see the gray clay goes to the bottom. You see the red, it went right through the red bed. They had to be wet at the same time. There is no other possibility. None. Zero. Now, what about the black cap? Well, the black cap landed on the gray clay, on this. And this is the black cap, and it is black and it's heavy, and it's just fallout. All right, from the volcanoes, from the burning, from all of that. So the black cap is on top of the gray clay. We can see the gray clay here. And the gray clay pushed through the red bed. There's just no other, there's no big discussion here. It's just got to be looked at. The average human mind can understand that. And the average human mind can understand there is no toes here. I did a cast of this. I understand it's basically identical to our feet, except there's no toes. I'll show you, right here it is right here. You don't see toes. You see the balls of the feet, and this is something we all have too, is a real tight, a piece I couldn't figure out at first, but it's there, everybody has it, on the bottom of your foot. And that pushed right down through. So we've got no toes, and we've got the Triassic happening in a blink of an eye. Okay, just look at this. These are little hooks that come off of the main bone, which is called the tibia, and the fibula just lays right there on the side of the foot. And that's exactly what we have here. I'll show it to you over on the other bench. Hold on. All right, it's pretty obvious you would call that a red bed, and that was where the gray clay, which is this, stepped through. Now, this is what the front looks like, and I don't see any toes. There's no toes there. There's just But I do understand this. I didn't understand it at first until I did a cast of it. And that is where the big toe ends up going out this way. And these appear to be the balls of the foot. I mean, there's no toes in here. So this is a validated no toe as far as I'm concerned. And the heel is back here. I'd have hit like this and kept going like that, that's all. And on the edges, there's no suck-ups. There is some on the here. It was wet when it hit. It was wet when it hit here. The red bed was wet too. And it pushed the gray clay, which should be up here at the top, down through the red bed, and we can easily see that right there. See? It pushed the gray clay right to the bottom. So the Triassic did not take millions of years as is taught. I want peer review on this. I want somebody to take a look at it. Because I have the black cap too. And the black cap is going to turn out to be, you know, debris from volcanism and burning and all that stuff. I'm not sure how you'd look into the chemistry of it, but it's obviously going to be from that stuff. It's not just a layer of black ooze. It's going to be from burning, from combustion. All right, I have the foot right here. This is the foot, and it's in the microscope. And I'm a ways off, but we can see these dimples. You see those dimple-looking things? What that is, I call those suck-ups. Hold on, let me move this here. And what that means is this, whatever the surface was at this, when the guy hit his foot on there, it went, and it caused these to create little cavities, suck-ups. And I can tell that because at the edge, well, I know for sure anyway, but at the edge, the suck-ups stop. Right at the very edge, right there, you see? There's no more suck-ups there because there's no more suction. That's the edge of his foot. So it's not hard to see this stuff, but you really got to think about what you're looking at. And suck-ups stop. But in here, there's a ton of them. And that's the whole, it hit it and went, but the edges don't have the same amount of suction. Now you see this? This is how abrupt the red bed and the gray clay being pushed down through it is. It was mud with the gray clay over the top, just barely drying out at that point. And I'll show you the pictures that I'm taking that from is right there on the edge of the foot. Now hold on. This is where I took the picture from right there. Right where the foot pushed down through the red bed. It's, I'd like to have it peer reviewed. That's what I'm asking for. All right, I got this way off of the microscope. So, but you can see it pretty well right here. This is the two little lumps that hang off the tibia, the big bone. So they hang off the edge so they won't get pulled this way. Now, right here is the central point, like that's a cavity, and I'll show you that. And then this, the side, right there, laying right along that side, would have been where the fibula was. All right? Right there. Right down here. Would just be stuck there. And these are like little tendon sort of ligaments. And this is the main place where the bone sat and rocks. And then these are the two edges that come over the edge. And I'll show you this. But that's what we're looking at right now is the heel. And that's what the anatomical is, exactly what I'm saying. You got the two little hooks coming over from the tibia, and the fibula just lays against the side. And that allows your foot to twist and do all kinds of things. It's just, it lays right up against there. But those two hooks are the ones that I showed you, coming from the main bone, the tibia. Okay, the only thing that I can really find that's a big difference is that the toes are either built in or they're just, I don't know what to say. This is where it creases when they walk, all right, and the crease runs right down the side. It tips up. The crease is in the hide. It's exactly like my belt. All right, and then the other side, I think there's springs built into this. It looks like there's a sole. There is no sole on there. It looks like it, I agree. But as far as I can determine, I've looked at a lot of these, and they appear to have some form of springs. Now, I believe that's a pin. You see that little round spot? I don't know really what you can see and you can't see. But I believe that little round spot and these springs load up as the thing hits the bottom here, like, because there's two springs, one here and one here. You got to look close at the details. Now, as it steps, the first one would load up, and it would hit a certain point, and then the second one would kick in. Depends on how hard you're running. And they'd bump up against here. So you'd hit here like this, and this would flex up, loading these springs. And then when you come back down, it'll just flatten back out again. Now, I've got other ones that are more eroded and have, I think, maybe a different style spring. I'm telling you, this is crazy stuff. It's just what it is. And again, there's where the tibia is, the main bone. It's exactly where it sits. And these are the two hooks that hook that bone in. And that's the side where the fibula would just lay here. And if you look at it close, you can find the areas that locked it in place. So as far as I'm concerned, this is very, very human-ish. I tried to take blood samples from down deep inside, and I wasn't successful at having anybody willing to test it. And as far as I'm concerned, it had to die in the Great Flood. I'm sure of this. And I believe it died laying on this side. See how flat that is? Everything that I have seems to have a flat side. Well, most everything. And that's where it is. And you can see it's kind of muddy-ish too. It's been sitting in the mud on that side for 3,000 years or however long it's been since it was taken out. And this is where it flexes. And this is exactly identical to skin today. There's no difference. That fabric is exactly the same. Exactly the same. All right, this is what we're looking at. In the microscope, the skin, actually it's hide. It's nothing more than leather. It's exactly identical to leather. And I will show you because I have leather here in my split leather belt. And you see all these little balls, all these little fibers. This is what makes hide tough as hell. And I'll show you in a second. Genuine leather. And this is split cowhide, basically. And we're going to be taking a look at where all those balls are and so forth, where the latch comes through. All right, this is my belt. This is one of the loops. And that's where you can see all the fibers. You see all those little fibers sticking out of there? Every one of these balls has one of these fibers sticking out. And I mean, they're everywhere. That's why a belt and leather in general is so tough. This is where you don't see them because they're not pulled out. But that's what this shoe, or it's not a shoe, it's a foot. It's what that foot is made out of, is this stuff. This on the surface. Underneath, no. Okay, I don't see any reason to go any further. This is what it is. I've shown exactly the details that prove the points that I'm saying, is that this all happened virtually within the same time, very, very close time frame. I have the actual foot here that has no toes in it, and other people around the world have said they found things with no toes, and it can't be human because it has no toes. Well, I don't know if this is human or not. I don't know how close to being human it is. But it's time we looked at this. It's time it was, peer reviewed. That's all I'm asking for. And it's been quite a long time that basically has been refused. Hard to believe, but that's just true. So I want peer review, somebody. All right, please. Thank you.